What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. 2021, kind of shitty out, but it is what it is. We're going to work on the car today, getting the cars ready for the 2021 season. And our first order of business is to do my roll center adjuster and axles on my blue Evo 8. So here are our parts. Ball joint goes in the motor control arm, tie rod end, and I also bought some brand new OEM inner tie rods, mainly because I have almost 60,000 miles on the stock ones, and I didn't want to replace them with garbage aftermarket ones. So I did buy OEM inner tie rods for both sides. It doesn't come with a nut, so we might have to go to Ace to go get a nut that fits this thing, and we can go ahead and install it. So we went to Ace. Here we are, $269 a piece, and it's just M14 by 150, and they've become the jam nuts for the tie rod end. When you adjust it, you tighten it to lock them down. They're grade 8. Not really sure what they're made out of, but we're going to coat the threads with anti-seize so that it doesn't seize on there. Nothing's worse than trying to adjust a tie rod on the rack or on the floor and the jam nut doesn't move. So, alright, so we got all the parts. So now we gotta take the car apart and get all these parts in. Well, now that the wheel's off and the car is in the air, you want to take the caliper off and mark your strut bolts. So basically, I'm going to pull the whole knuckle off, including the rotor, to get to the ball joint and the tie rods. So the caliper's got to come off because this line will definitely hold you up. What do you mean? You need a camera so you can talk to the camera?
Yeah.
Like me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have one. I don't have another camera for you, buddy. No, we still have brakes. That's good. I do need that hook, though. That hook you have? I need it.
What one, the red one or the black one?
Black hook, please.
Black hook? Let's do it in the
So next thing I'm going to remove is this nut and cotter pin for the axle.
Oh yeah.
And then we're going to undo the lower ball joint and the 2 strut bolts. And then once those 2 are out, we should have more access to that lower ball joint. And we're going to replace the axle in the process as well. Boom. These 19mm strut bolts are part of your alignment, so it would be really smart to mark it. I have a little mark in there now that it's almost worn out from the last time I took apart. So mark it, that way you know where to put this upper camber bolt back in when you put the car back together. And then I mark the bottom too, just for you know, shits and giggles, because I don't want to lose my position. So I just simply take a paint marker and I just mark it like so. This way, when we're putting the car back, I know exactly where this bolt needs to go, and then I do it on the bottom one as well, just so that it goes back together. You're probably wondering why I went through the trouble of removing the splash shields and the knuckle instead of removing the control arm. The reason I did that is there's a captured nut on the back side of one of the control arm bolts, and my subframe's not rusty, but I didn't want to risk breaking that captured nut and extending this work for a longer period of time, because then I would have to either put it back together and take it to the dealer to get the warranty done, or have to do it myself. So I figured I'd take the knuckle out, I can hang the control arm there and do the bushing on the car, or the ball joint on the car, and I won't have to risk breaking that captured nut in there. And then maybe next fall, before I put it away, we take it to the dealer and get the warranty done. That way I don't have too much downtime and I can just get my stuff done and drive the car. So this is a lower ball joint. This stock one is still very, very good. Still super tight. But we're replacing it with that Whiteline because I like the car low. And when the car is low, this control arm tends to point up. And the more it points up, the worse that geometry gets, and the bump steer gets real crazy. So as of right now, we're gonna remove this ball joint. We gotta take this boot off, get yourself some snap ring pliers, take the snap ring off, and then we're gonna use our little ball joint tool to remove it. So this is our ball joint kit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna find one of these cups that fit under a ball joint, and then you push it out with this big ass C-clamp right here. This way, see? I was worried a little bit. So yeah, you use the C-clamp to push the ball joint out. You use one of these to catch it. Kind of self-explanatory. So this is what we're using. Before you slide the ball joint up in there, make sure you clean the bore and everywhere around it, just because you want it to go in straight and you want it to go in easily. So just some Scotch-Brite will work. Just clean the inside bore. A Scotch-Brite is perfect because it won't take any material out. So when you press that ball joint in, it's going to be tight like the stock ball joint. So here we are. Just clean this up like so. And then we can put our ball joint back in there. I got the ball joint back in, which is finally, this took way longer than I wanted. So now we're gonna tackle this tie rod end portion, and I want to replace the inner too, so we got to get that boot out. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the camera down, get this setup out, and then I'll update you. Before I take this nut off to get the boot out, I'm gonna mark this tie rod end to make, you know, just to get it kind of close to where we need to be. That's probably good, right? Right there. You can also count the threads, how many threads there is, which I'll probably do anyway. So let me grab a little pocket screwdriver here. So the best thing, that way you know. This one looks like an OEM tie rod end, or an inner tie rod anyway, so we should be okay. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 threads. So I'm gonna turn this nut. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we painted it in the right spot. Now I'm gonna remove this boot and get it all taken apart and switched over to the other tie rod end. Okay, so got the boot off the old inner tie rod. This is the front clamp. This is the band clamp on the back that goes on the rack. I didn't buy a new one. There's no room in an Evo to even squeeze this unless you have a 90-degree band clamp plier. So I'm going to use a heavy-duty zip tie, which I've done that before. I had to cut the old tie rod to get the boot out. So now I'm gonna stick this tie rod into the car, tighten it, and then put the boot on and get this driver's side back together. Okay, so I got the driver's side done. Tie rod ends in, and the new nut and the new inner tie rod. And I don't know if you can see the ball joint down here, which is also done. So now we're just going to torque all these bolts, and this side is done. So it's the next day. I actually ended up quitting at about 2 a.m. last night on the other side. I did that off camera. Using a ball joint C-clamp, like an on-the-car press to put them in and out is a pain because you can't really get the ball joint in straight. So I had to finagle with that thing all night last night on that side. This side gave me trouble too. But so I finally finished it. It's the day after. Everything's torqued down and everything's, you know, installed. We put the new to me axles in it. We did the Whiteline roll center adjuster, a brand new OEM inner tie rod, and the Whiteline low outer tie rod end, basically to get this front geometry better. It has a lot of bump steer because of how low it is, and I'm not going to raise it. Just not my thing. If you enjoyed that video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next time. Thank you. Bye.